The number one challenge that law firms have is that clients aren't satisfied with the lack of communication that comes from the law firm to the clients, whether it be real or perceived, and that generally triggers a bar complaint. And the question is, how can we defeat this? How can we reduce the fear about this? Welcome to the Your Practice Mastered podcast. My name is Richard James, and today we're going to be focusing on how we can stop bar complaints in your law firm. And the answer is a combination of a human system, a system that a human can run, combined together with the power of AI to make a not perfect, but a near perfect formula to reduce the risk of bar complaints, increase the client satisfaction. And so the question is, how do you go about doing it step by step? Well, the good news is I've created a playbook for you. So if you want more information, go ahead and grab a copy of the playbook. It's in the description. There's a link to it there. We'll be happy to walk alongside of you, helping you understand how to do this. But today I thought I'd walk through this for you, not using the playbook, but rather using some words and maybe drawing this out for you so you understand this general principle. So what are some of the challenges when we have lack of communication? So certainly we've mentioned one of them, right? That's a bar complaint, right? We don't want that. Great. What is the other thing that happens when we have a poor communication system for a client? We have an attrition issue. It means that we have cancellations and we have less dollars than we want. What's the next problem that we have? The next problem is that we have low staff happiness because you look at your team and go, why can't you just return Mrs. Smith's call? And by the way, Mrs. Smith's cousin is also calling me, and I've got 5 other people who are waiting me for yesterday, and you've got this brief you want done, and I can't seem to get to all of it. What do you want me to not do? Now, maybe they're not bold enough or brazen enough to say that to you, and you're just yelling at them, talking to them like they're lesser humans, and they're frustrated because the question that Mrs. Smith is asking is the same question that every single client asked since the beginning of time, and it represents the 20% of questions that make up 80% of the volume of questions, and everybody asks the same ones. The other thing that happens is you get no social proof. You either get a bad Google review or you get less than perfect Google reviews because of lack of communication. We don't want the fact that we have no social proof. So these are some of the big issues that come from a lack of communication, right? We get bar complaints, we get a poor morale for the staff, we have lack of social proof, and most importantly, a reduction of income because either our lead flow dies because they see a lack of social proof and we don't get the calls we should get, or we get people who cancel and we have to refund their money and they go somewhere else. And so it's just frustrating. Now, there are a number of fundamental reasons for this. Sometimes it's because law firms take the wrong cases and they take a bunch of bad, what we call hamburger cases, and they shouldn't have said no to that case anyway. And sometimes the law firm does that because they just need the cases. And I get that. I've been there. But ideally, we want to try to take the cases we can serve at the very highest level. But for those firms who don't have just a bunch of hamburger cases, what they really have is a problem with their communication system. Hey, listen, if you want to learn more about how to build a communication system that your staff can run, maximize client satisfaction, get more reviews, increase your revenue, and decrease your bar complaints, and you'd like our help with that, you can go ahead and visit us at thelawfirmsecret.com, and we'd be happy to walk alongside you and figure out how we can support you in your efforts to grow and manage your law firm. So, quick story. I built the firm in Phoenix. What was happening in our world was we grew up pretty quick. We had over 125 new clients retaining the firm every single month. And the problem was that was creating over 2,500 unique customer service or client success requests a month. We had a couple dozen employees at this time, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get the employees to find their way clear to deal with the customer requests. And for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, like the employees were sick and tired of answering the same question over and over again. So I had this problem. What was I going to do with all these calls that were coming in and my team just couldn't manage? And it hit me that there were three fundamental things I need to do. The first thing was I had to move to proactive versus reactive communication. And so the two things that we launched, the first one to solve this was, we're going to call it red, yellow, green calls. And all we did was we started calling our clients proactively every single month to just take the pulse of what was going on for them. So that was called red, yellow, green calls. Literally, somebody's job in the firm was to use text, email, and phone to reach out to clients and connect with them and get feedback like, is everything okay? If it wasn't okay, they would mark it yellow, which meant somebody in management needed to get involved and take a look at things. And then if it was really not okay, they marked it red, which means somebody in management needed to get on the call with that client right away. And so the red card was a very important thing that holds true throughout these entire systems that we're talking about. We put communication in place. So each case type has stages to it. And so what most clients will tell you is that they feel like they're left in the dark. They don't know what's going on at different stages. Look, the truth of the matter is something is not always going on in their case. Sometimes just nothing's going on, but that's okay. Even if there's nothing's going on, we still let them know nothing's going on in their case and why. We proactively communicate with them about the stages. We broke down the stages of the case. We built automated communication sequences. We found ways to make it more personal, like handwritten notes and things like that at different points of the stage. And we started proactively communicating with clients along the lines of their case, so they understood what was going on. There is a life cycle to this. You have to map out the life cycle, identify what the communication point should be, and start communicating in an automated fashion and some non-automated fashions with your clients so that they feel like they are loved and cared for and that you believe in them and that you're there for them and that you're working on their case, even if there's nothing going on. The second thing that we did was we made a central communication port. One of my companies years ago had my mother-in-law, one of my best employees I've ever had in my life. She answered all the inbound inquiries from customers. Her job was to reconcile all the invoices every day so that when it went out to the warehouse, it was right before it ships. And so we had thousands of invoices, 30, 40 invoices a day that have to be reconciled. And so at our busiest point, it all kind of built up to the point that Rose couldn't get her work done. And she prided herself on getting her work done. And Rose said to me, I just can't get through all my work. I said, why? Well, she goes, every time I go to do something, I'm interrupted by the phone. And you know, the rule around here is you got to answer the phone within 3 rings. I'm like, okay. I said, what if I took the phone off your desk? She goes, well, who's going to do it? And I said, well, that's my problem. What if I took it off your desk? And she said, oh, no problem. I'd get all my work. So in a law firm setting, what I did was I took all the phones off the paralegals' desks. I rerouted all of their lines to a centralized situation. I hired a law firm intern. So they were in law school. I brought them in and trained them in the beginning, and then I let them work remote so they could go to law school, and I took it off Rose's desk. And all of a sudden, Rose was able to get all of her work done. When I centralized communication, I was able to beat this game. The third thing that we did, I used tech to measure things. Then I just had tech, but now I want you to use AI with tech. So back then, what I did was I installed a ticketing system. We had a ticketing system that basically gave every single customer service request a ticket ID. And then that ticket ID told us a couple of things. It told us when the ticket was open. It told us when the ticket was closed, and we could run a report on how long it took us to close. And it let us build in net promoter scores so we could ask and survey the client about their overall satisfaction. In addition to this tech system, I would now take AI and I would fold it throughout the entire process. I would fold it through proactive communication. So I used AI to help me build better communication templates and scripts. I would also use AI to diagnose the data and what it tells us, to help us see problems before they happen based on trends. And then I would use AI in the centralized communication, build out scripts and templates, and build out like a wiki of answers. The one person who's going to answer all these questions, they'll know the answers to the 20% that are common questions, but they're not going to know the answers to the 80%. We're going to then go ahead and be able to put those answers into the wiki so we can develop this database using AI. And then AI through the ticketing system will be intelligent and start to be able to develop quality answers based on the questions that come in through the ticketing system and can make good quality suggestions to your team. What is going to happen is going to allow the same team to handle more volume, and it's going to allow you to get a better result because the AI is going to be smarter than a human at being able to digest these things faster. Now, one of the complaints I hear about this all the time is that, well, we're an hourly billing firm and I want my attorneys and paralegals to answer questions. When they say this, I ask them, how much do you bill to answer an email? And they say, well, like 6 minutes worth of time. I'm like, okay, so you bill like 1/10 of an hour. Yeah, 1/10 of an hour. I'm like, all right. So we have two possible solutions. First solution is still bill the 1/10 of an hour, but you're just going to have your non-attorney copy and paste the same way the attorney did, or they're going to get the answer from the attorney and they're going to do the work. And some firms go, no, that's not ethical. We can't do that. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't agree with it because you still gave the client what they needed, which was the answer. And the attorney still came up with the answer. We just leveraged the fact that they wrote it once. We know the attorney is copy and pasting their answer from the last time they wrote it, so they don't have to rewrite it. What's the difference if the non-attorney does it? So what I say to them is, okay, instead of billing 1/10 of an hour, let's do this. Let's have the centralized communication team and the ticketing system. Whenever we have a question that's got to be answered by the attorney and we want to actually bill for them, let's go ahead and schedule a 15-minute or 20-minute meeting with the attorney, with the client. And all of a sudden, that becomes a billable situation. You're talking to that client and answering that question. Consequently, your average case value is going to go up and the client is going to get good quality service. So if you don't want somebody else to do it, and we know that the attorneys can't successfully do it well and get the rest of their work done, then let's figure out how to do it differently. The point is, if we don't have somebody manage the centralized communication and you try to have the communication managed by the attorney or the paralegals, they're going to get overwhelmed and they're not going to get a lot of their work done, and they're not going to get back to their clients in the way that they should because of all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Listen, if you want to increase the amount of revenue that you generate by decreasing the attrition and increasing your social proof, your over efficiency that you have with your firm, and you want to increase your client satisfaction, which will increase your referrals and all these things that are going to come from this, you need to do three things. Add proactive communication, add centralized communication, and add technology. And you need to wrap the whole thing in an artificial intelligence bow so you can make it work faster and better. And if you follow this system, you're going to find that this is going to work for you too. Look, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. My goal is to help you build your practice better. And today we're doing that one communication system at a time. Hey, listen, if you want to learn more about how to build a communication system that your staff can run, maximize client satisfaction, get more reviews, increase your revenue, and decrease your bar complaints, and you'd like our help with that, you can go ahead and visit us at thelawfirmsecret.com, and we'd be happy to walk alongside you and figure out how we can support you in your efforts to grow and manage your law firm.